Welcome back! Hi there and welcome to my tutorial. Listen, if you've been with me for a while, you know how adamant I was that I was never going to download Tool. My chat on Twitch convinced me, and you know what? Don't tell them I said this, but they were right. Tool has been a complete game changer and I can't get enough of it. And I use it in all of my builds. There's a lot of upcoming builds to the channel that you guys are going to see me using Tool. So I wanted to run through how to use the basics, how to then start incorporating it into your builds, and like some of the cool functions and ways you can use it for your build. So that's really what I want to do today. So I hope you enjoy it. If there's any other questions you have, please let me know. We can keep updating this as we all learn together. But yeah, let's get straight into it because there's a lot to go over. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? So first of all, meet Doris. Doris is going to be our lovely sim who is going to help playtest everything for us so you can see how things are going to work, how things are going to move. It's always good to have a sim on site, especially if you're using Tool, so you can make sure everything works depending on where you place things. So first things what we're going to do, we're going to open up build mode. I always bring a sim here, but open up build mode because it's just useful to test. I'm telling you, right. So here is our lot. Here it is, and we're gonna run through step by step everything you need to know about Tool, from the basics, like I said, to actually the applications that you can use. And I'll show a few of my favorite ways at the end, but we're gonna go step by step. So if you have it as well and you wanna do the tutorial alongside with me, open up your game now, pause the video, and yeah, come back, come join us when you've got it all loaded up. So first things first, let's open up Tool. How do we do it? As long as you've already downloaded it, make sure you have. What we're gonna press is Shift and T, and that is gonna open up the Tool extension for you. Now, yours might not appear here first. I think I moved mine here because originally it opens up in the middle of the screen, and that can be a little bit in the way, it can be a little bit obtrusive. So I moved mine to top left. If you wanna do that for yours, we'll run through it now. Click Options. Click Change Settings and set dialog position. It's just a handy little housekeeping thing just to scoot it out the way so you can always see what you are doing on your build. I have mine set to top left, but you can move yours to wherever on your screen works best for you. The other setting that I want you to change while you're in here is snap to terrain. If you can just switch that one off and make sure that snap camera on move is on. I'm going to explain as we go through why these settings matter, but for now just make sure snap to terrain is off and snap camera on move is on. Wonderful! Are we all up to date? So first things first is move. Now, Tool has 3 different ways that you can move items using this function. So first things first, let me just grab an item. We'll grab a chair, we'll make it nice and easy. So I'm just gonna grab a chair and I'm gonna place it here. Now, like I said, there are 3 ways, all have their own benefits, pros, cons, and you'll quickly discover which way you like to move items the best. So once you have placed your item, we're gonna select it. I hear you, how do I select an item, Beth? You just click it and it's gonna go this shade of green. So once you have it selected, the first option is you can just tap it anywhere. So click anywhere on your screen and that is where the item is gonna go. Super useful, super easy if you're trying to travel some distance, if you know the exact space that you want it. This is super useful. So you can just tap to wherever you want it to go. Have we got it? Good. Option 2 that we can do is very similar, but a little bit different. So we have our item here, and instead of just clicking where we want it to go, I want you to hold the Alt button on your keyboard and then click. So I'm holding Alt and I'm gonna click. This is called gravity pull because as you can see, it is pulling the item towards wherever on my mouse I am clicking. The further away you click, the bigger the jumps will be to the item. The closer you are, the smaller it's gonna like nudge. But that personally is my favorite way to move items within using tool, but you'll see which one works best for you the more you use it. Option 3 can be a little bit more complicated, but I'm going to break it down so it'll make as easy and simplest sense as possible. So we're going to click the move tool. Now, as you can see, it brings open this grid. My grid is green and pink. Yours might be slightly different colors. You can change them within the settings, but mine is green and pink. And as you can see, the pink is our y-axis, which is our horizontal. X is our vertical here. So super easy to see. And X and Y here revolves around what number we put in here. Now, on this grid, you'll see these squares. These squares equal 1. Okay, so if I move on the x-axis 1, we're just going to do 1, 0. We're not going to move the y-axis. I'm just going to move us on that x-axis by 1. As you can see, it went up 1 square. If I do -1, 0, because we're not moving it on the y, so -1 will send it down 1 square. Just like that. I'll show you on the y-axis as well. So we do 0, 1. This is going to push it forwards 1 on the y-axis. There you go. And if I was to do 0, -1, that's going to push us 1 on the y-axis negatively. Now, you can do both. So for instance, if we did 1, 1, that is going to move us diagonally between the two axes. There you go. So we were here, we did 1, 1, which is 1 on the x-axis and 1 on the y-axis, which moves us here. Are we all following along? So you can move it wherever you want. So for instance, if I wanted it up here over 1, we would just move it. How many is that? That's 3 on the x-axis and 1 on the y-axis. And now it's up here. So I hope that's making sense. Also, if you're noticing that your camera isn't moving along with when you move this, that was one of the settings I just told us to change. So if that's not working for you, if it's doing this instead, hang on, I'll switch it off. If instead you are getting this, where the item is moving and the camera is not follow along, all you need to do is go back into change settings and snap camera on move. It's really useful to have this on because if you don't and you send your item flying, you might not know where it goes, and I'll show you. So we're going to do move and we're going to go 10 on the x-axis and just 1 on the y. And that is going to send our item all the way over here. So if you don't have your camera to move and follow your item, sometimes you find yourself trying to figure out where things have gone, especially if you're not used to how far you can move items. So make sure you have move camera on your settings. Again, if you need to know how to find it, go to options, change settings, and make sure snap camera on move is on. I promise you, it's a lifesaver. Otherwise you try and find your item and you have no idea where it is. Okay, so that is how we move items with Tool. Like I said, there are 3 ways. So let's run through those again. You can just click. You can click while holding Alt to gravity pull, or you can use the move function by putting a number in there to move along the grid. Sounds simple. We good? Let's move on. Okay, so next up is the Elevate tool. Elevate, again, super useful tool, and it does exactly what it sounds like it does. It will move your items higher or lower depending on the value you put in. So for instance, I've just set up a little table by our chair here just to show you a clear example of how it could work. So if we just grab a plant, for example, this will snap directly in the middle. Maybe you don't want it to snap on. So for instance, we can do this. We can place it, maybe we want to place it down here, for example. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to select it because we're in tool, and I'm going to click elevate. Now this is misleading. It says you can do anywhere between -25 and 25. I recommend you don't even normally do 1 because 1 can be quite a jarring jump, and again, you can send your objects flying into the abyss if you put too much of a number in. So I always recommend the max amount you put in is 1, because as you can see, that's how high it jumped with 1. It's very rarely you need to do that big of a jump. So 1 is like the absolute maximum I do. I do them in increments to move or lower my objects. So for here, for example, I'm going to do 0.6, which takes our object almost to where we want it. So we could do an extra 0.4 Oh no, it's too high. What do? We can minus it down. So we can do minus 0.3. So close to where we want to go. I'm just going to bump that up 0.02. So I've added an extra 0 in there to make it an even more precise measurement, and it was just not quite enough. Let's go again. And there you have it. So now it's sat on the table, but it's like right on the edge. So what we could do, we could use our move tool that I just went through. We can gravity pull this to potentially where we want it to be. Maybe we just want it near the edge. Maybe we want it further this way. Whatever you would like, you can do. So if we move this over here now, boom, there you go. It's perfectly sat on that table, but not in the snappable spot because we didn't want it in the middle. So that is how you can use the elevate tool. Next up is rotate. Rotate has so many possibilities within Tool of what you can do in The Sims, and I'm going to show you a few different ways and what each rotation axis does, because again, it's a lot of information very quickly up front and it can be a little bit overwhelming. So we're going to slow it down, break it down as much as we can to make it as user friendly for you moving forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find maybe a picture that we like. So we're going to grab this picture and I want it to look like it's sat on this shelf. So I'm just going to place it so it looks like it's on the shelf. As you can see, the shelf is kind of cutting into it and it's still very flat against the wall. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our item. We're going to rotate. Now, when you go to rotate, it will give you various axes. So the first one, as you can see, it's going to rotate along this bottom. So if I do 90, just to show you the way this is going to rotate. So 90 turns it on that blue circle that we saw there. Don't worry, if you ever mess up as well, you can do Control Z and it will put you right back to where you were. So that's the way that this one turns. So this circle is showing you the way that the item is going to rotate. There are 3 rotations that you can have on your items. So this is the first one. The second one is up here. So if you go on this axis, you can almost make, well, you can make it horizontal, not almost. There you go. So that just pushes it to the side. And then the third one, which is my personal favorite, I love using this axis. As you can see, it's going forwards and backwards. And this is really useful for mirrors, for photos, even for cushions as well. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do let's do minus 11 and see how it looks. So minus 11 has tilted it backwards. As you can see, it's kind of partially in the wall. So using that move tool we've just used, I'm just gonna bring this out of the wall for you. Now, if we unselect it, you'll see that it looks like the picture is propped up against the wall instead of being flat against the wall. This, like I say, I love to do in mirrors. I love to do with pictures because all of a sudden the shelf looks like it serves more of a purpose. So let's do something else with the rotate tool to give you an idea. Let's put a cushion on this chair because I find it helps if you have a visual aid as we're doing it. So let me grab a cushion. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a cushion here. This cushion came from the Modern Luxe kit. Very great little item if you're wanting to add more coziness in your home. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this cushion. As you can see, it's not at the height we need, so we can use our elevate tool again to make sure it goes to where we want. But first of all, what I'm gonna do is rotate it. So we've got our tool extension open. Click the item that we're gonna rotate. In this case, it's the cushion. So we're gonna rotate. And what I'm gonna do first of all is rotate on this bottom axis because I don't want it to be flat against the back of the chair. So if we go in here, let's rotate it by 15 so it will just look cute in the like corner crevice of that chair. So you can see it's just on a slight angle, and then we'll go into rotate again. And I'm gonna go into that forward backward angle like we did with the photo frame. And I'm gonna go minus 11. Minus 11 to minus 15 is really good for when you want items to look like they're propped against something. Like let's go minus 15 to give you more of a look of how far back that goes. So now you can see it's slightly tilted backwards. And then what we'll do is we'll elevate so that it's the right height for the chair. So elevate using those skills that we just learned. We're gonna go elevate let's go 0.7. Slightly too high. So either you can do Control Z and put it back on the ground, or we can go minus 0.3, which will shrink it down just a little bit. I think it needs to go slightly higher, but that's fine. This is what Tool is actually like if you're using it in your gameplay. It's a lot of just tweaking to get it at the correct height that you need. I'm gonna go 0.05, which seems a little bit better, and then I want to move it back to here. So again, we have 3 options when it comes to moving. We could do the gravity pull movement, we could do our grid movement. So our grid movement would take it back here if we move it along the x-axis. So for instance, we could do 1, 0. And that is almost exactly where we want it. So if I use our gravity pull now, just to put it more where we want, as you can see, it's a little bit too tall. So I'm just going to minus 0.02. A little further, let's go minus 0.03. And we're just going to pull it forward ever so slightly so it's not clipping in the back there. I'm just going to push over, and there we go. Now you have a cushion on your comfy chair. So that could be for adding extra pillows to a bed, adding pillows on the floor. You could add pillows to a sofa kind of thing. You can do so much with this rotate tool. If you wanted the zigzags going the other way, you could rotate that whole pillow 90 degrees so that you have horizontal zigzags on there instead. So that's a fun way of using the rotate tool. Like I said, again, you can use it or mirrors. One of my fun tricks, I'll show you another little trick that you can do with the rotate tool because I think it's fun to see different ways you can use things. What I'm gonna do is just grab us this easel. Doesn't matter what color it's in, I'm just gonna show you a little trick we can do. I'm gonna pop this over here. And then I'm gonna get us the new TV from Modern Luxe kit again. So this one, we'll find a swatch that we like. It could be, we'll go with this nice flower one for this nature theme that we're going for. So again, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select the item that we have. This time I'm gonna tap it to roughly where I want it to be. So we're gonna tap it to here. As you can see, that's too tall. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lower this down. We're gonna go 0.07. That was nowhere near big enough of a jump. Let's go minus 0.3. Getting closer. Okay, so we always do our bottom rotation first. It makes everything so much easier, believe me. Always start with your bottom rotation. So let's spin this round. Almost there. So I want to try and get it in line with this easel here. There you go. That looks roughly in line with how the easel looks. I am going to drag it back a little bit just so we can get a clearer look. There you go. So it looks great, but as you can see, we have this little gap here. So now we're going to go into our front and back rotation, which is this one here. And I'm going to send it backwards. Let's go -9 just to see what that looks like. That looks pretty good. It's a little bit too tall, so I am just going to bump it down just a smidgen, just so it looks like it's balancing on that bottom bit there. But as you can see, this TV is now on an easel, and this is functional. This TV is completely functional, even though you've done this. Same with mirrors. If you pop a mirror up against the wall, it's still completely functional, even if you put it at an angle. But this is why we bring a sim here, so you can always check if you're ever unsure. For example, if we go get Doris, so we'll just quickly jump back into live mode. You can send them straight here. If we get her to run over, poor little Doris, me getting her to run. There she is. Good, Doris. And then we can click here and we can say watch movie, and she is going to watch a movie. It still functions as a TV, even though we have it on an easel, which is really handy. Same with your chair. If you're ever unsure it's going to work, you can ask your sim to sit down. If I just have her stop watching TV, she will still sit on this, even though there is a cushion there. So it's really handy. I really recommend always having a sim on site so that you can double check how they're gonna function with the items. Oh, she's watching, she's watching TV again. Good for you, Doris. Okay, I'm gonna open up Tool again. And the next thing on here is scale. And you're probably like, what would you use scale for? We can already size objects up and down in The Sims. And you know what? You're right. We can size things up and down, but this gives you full possibilities. You can size anything to any size in The Sims. So for example, let's get a little rug, shall we? Let's find a rug that we like. Let's go for, oh, we'll go for the cottage living one because I absolutely love it. Absolutely love this rug. Okay, so as always, select your item until it goes green. Here we go. We're going to go into scale. Now, when you place an object down, 1 is the original scale. So when it says between a value of 0 and 25, 1 is your original scale. That is the scale of the item as you place it, is the number 1. So if I press 2, it's going to go much larger. I can obviously do Control Z, or I could do 1 here. I'm just going to close that down. Sorry. Right. So we can go even smaller. So you could go like 0.4. And we get this teeny tiny rug. Maybe you want like a specific doormat, or you need it to fit in a certain space. And none of the rugs quite do that in the game. This is a fantastic way of being able to be super precise, because if I close tool for a second, if I grab that rug again, so this is the original size, and using our bracket keys that come in game that we can use to scale, you can see that I can't get anywhere near this. This is probably the closest we can get. And obviously that's still not the right size. If I try the one below as well, just to give you an idea. So these are your 2 scales in The Sims without tool. So we got a very precise measurement, whereas these, there's quite a lot of scope between these. And sometimes you just need a rug to be a certain size so it can fit in a certain space. So you can really have a play around with it, see what's going to work well for you, what works well for the build you're working on, and go from there, really. It's really handy. It's a really handy tool, if you will. How to duplicate. Now, duplicate, you might be like, why do I need to duplicate in The Sims? Well, if you spend a long time scaling, rotating an item, and you want it to be the exact same, duplication in The Sims is a fantastic tool for you. And I'm going to run through how you do it. I only recently learned how to duplicate. I never really looked into how to do it. And I was like, I will just mess around in my own little way and it'll be fine. No, duplication is the way to go. It's so much quicker, especially if you want the exact same thing. Highly recommend doing it. So this is how we duplicate. So what I want you to do is select your item. We're going to press Shift and Alt, and you're going to click the item. So you've clicked that item twice, but you press Shift and Alt in between those clicks. Now what you need to do is place your item. So you can click anywhere, but I want this maybe potentially to go back on the shelf with this picture. I'm going to click it there, and we have the same one. So I can bring it forward if I need to. So for instance, I'm going to bring this forward. As you see, I'm using gravity pull, so it takes a little bit longer, but it is more precise. But these are the exact same angle. We could scale this down now if we wanted to, because we got the same angle. If we go for like 0.4, it's a much smaller frame. But there you go. That's how you duplicate. So you could do this for anything. If we wanted to duplicate this TV system, maybe if you're doing various ones, maybe if you're making apartments and you want everyone to have like a similar TV. So click what you want. It's Shift and Alt, click it again, place next to it. Then obviously we want to do the same with the TV. I'm going to click it. I'm going to press Shift and Alt and click the TV again, and then I'm going to place it. And we have the exact same rotations and things. This one just needs to go a little bit further back, so I'm just going to select it. We'll just push it back slightly. And there you go. You have 2 of the exact same. Now, maybe you want to take maybe this whole TV stand, maybe you want to move it somewhere. How do you do that? Well, you don't have to move each item on its own. What you can do is select an item, press Alt, and select an item again. Now you'll see they're both highlighted green. So now I could click over here and it will move them as one unit, which is really, really helpful. So you don't have to move just one thing. So for instance, if we just wanted to move this entire furniture, I could select absolutely all the bits. So I selected these 4 and I can move them over there and they will move as one. Super useful function. I absolutely love this function. Just make sure you unselect items. That's always key. But it's super useful. Okay, so I want to run through some of the other ways that I like to use Tool and show you how you can actually implement them in your build now that we've learned the basics. So if you find any artwork you like but you hate the frame, there's a really cool technique you can use using Tool to reframe pictures or gallery art. So for example, I'm just going to grab this one here. We've got some landscape art which looks really cute. We're going for a country theme, so let's just grab this quickly. Just going to pop it over here and we're just going to take one of these paintings. So you see, it's way too big. So first of all, we're going to go into Tool and we're going to scale it down. Now, gallery art can be a little bit funny with scaling, so just trial and error till you get the size that you want. Okay, so here's our artwork. It's on the wall. It's at a scale that we like. What we're then going to go in and do is go into artwork, and I want you to go right down to the bottom. Now, one of my personal favorite frames to use is this one. I'm just going to select it. As you can see, it's like way too big. We know that. That's fine. Looking at the shape of my artwork, I'm going to need 2 of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do one of these quickly. We're going to select it for scale. And again, you just need to play around to get the scale correct. So we're going to try 0.7. I come out of Tool just so I can move it freely. You can see that that is almost perfect, but it's a little bit bigger on the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this a little bit smaller. So we go scale, we're going to make it smaller. I've gone with 0.6. We're going to move it in. So now it fits the vertical of our painting. Open Tool again. Select your item. We're going to duplicate this item. So remember, Shift and Alt, click it again, and then we're just going to tap and bring this here. I'm going to close Tool so I can move this freely, and we're just going to free place this right next to our painting. And then what you need to do as well is just grab your painting, and we're just going to push it into the wall a little bit more, just so it's not as prominent. There we go. It takes a little bit of finessing, but you'll soon see that what we have is now a beautifully framed art piece that didn't originally have a frame. So this way you can change the frame. You could use any frame. You could use a frame more like this if you wanted to. You can use an even more ornate frame if you wanted. The possibilities really are endless. This just happens to be one of my favorite frames to use, and I think it looks so cute and so effective as well. You can also use this for the TV. If I show you that, it's a great way to elevate the TV. So again, I'm going to select this. We need to change, obviously, how big this is. We're going to go Open Tool. I'm going to scale it down. Let's go 0.5, shall we say? We'll see how this fares. So we need it still to be a little bit bigger. So let's scale. Let's go 0.6 and see how we do with that. There you go. 0.6 is actually a perfect fit. So I'm going to Open Tool again. We're going to click, Shift Alt, click again, and then place our item. And this will be the exact correct size that we need. I'm going to push this in. And then what I'm going to do is actually change this frame so it matches the frame of the TV a little bit better. But can you see that? So we now have 2 custom frames for either artwork or for a TV. So you can really implement it to fit the style of your build. So that was really quick and easy to do. You just got to have a play around with your scales and your movements. But this is one of my favorite decorating techniques. I hope you like this one. Okay, so what next for techniques with Tool? So I'm actually going to make us a little kitchen for this one. So we've just got a wall here. Let's get some kitchen cabinets. We've just placed some kitchen cabinets, nothing fancy. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you a really cute technique to incorporate trash cans a little bit more into your builds rather than have them sat to the side. A fun trick that I like to do is choose any built-in appliance. So it could actually be a dishwasher. I always just use the Dream Home Decorator oven for some reason, but you could also use a base game dishwasher with no problem. What we're going to do is we're going to go and pop it in here. Then I want you to open tool. We're going to select the item and I want you to scale it as small as it can go. So we're going to go 0.01. This is going to make it teeny tiny. So as you can see, it's teeny tiny, but it's technically gone. It is still there, but to unselect your item because it is so small, just select the counter next to it and unselect. I then want you to grab a trash can. It can be any trash can. It can be the high-tech money bin if you want. I personally love it with the barrel bins, but you can choose literally any bin you like. It works with absolutely any bin at all. I like the barrel bin, like I said, so I'm just gonna pop that there. But now it looks like it's built in to your counters. So you still can use this workplace, but you have a bin underneath that you can drag your bin in, your rubbish into the bin for your sim and stuff. So this is one of my favorite little techniques. It's so simple, but scaling things down so they're minuscule so you can put something in their place is one of my favorite techniques. Another thing that you can do with scaling down is how you use the counters. So you know an appliance can only go on the countertops. Maybe you would like it on a shelf. One of the things I like to do is to get an extra counter. And I want you to put whatever appliance you want on a shelf on there. So potentially, maybe we want a coffee machine on there. So I'm just gonna pop this on here. We're gonna go scale. We're gonna select this and I'm not gonna shrink it super small just yet. I'm gonna go to 0.5 or 4 in this case. Just make it a little bit smaller, but not super small. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna select this and bring it as close to the wall as I can using our gravity pull. Now, gravity pull, like I said, that is where you hold Alt and you tap along. So now it looks like it's in the middle of this counter, but I actually want it on top of the shelf. So we're gonna elevate this. I'm gonna go 0.4. We're gonna go 0.4 again. Like I say, I like to do this in small increments. You might be more brave and just have it just jump straight up, but I like to go in small increments. It makes me feel like I have more control of where my item is going. So that is almost where we need it. So I'm gonna go elevate 0.01 just to move it up just a smidgen more. Oh, it's now slightly above the shelf. So we'll go minus 0.01. A little bit more, minus 0.01. There we go. So now it looks like my coffee pot is on this shelf. I'm just gonna pull it back even further. It looks like it's there now. This one actually looks like it's overhanging slightly, so you could change the coffee pot, for instance. Now what you can do, if we didn't want this coffee pot, we could delete that and pop this one in its place, for instance. Open tool. Scoot it even further back, just like that. So now it looks like it's on the shelf. Now that we have it in place, I want you to make this invisible. So again, we go to scale, we go to 0.01, and now it's teeny tiny. You can just barely see it here, and we can hide that by putting something on it instead. So again, because it is so tiny now, just select something else and unselect it. Now, these won't be functional, but aesthetically, I think they look really cute if you wanted to make a coffee station or you want it to look like your appliances aren't in the way. You could do that with all your appliances. And there you go. So now we have a whole appliance shelf up there. I think it's a really cute little technique. It might not be your cup of tea, but that is another way that you can use Tool to just add a little extra oomph to your build. Okay, next, do you want to add custom splashbacks to a kitchen, for example? So find a tile you like on the gallery art. So open up your gallery and you can literally type just tile and see what comes up. So I really like this little brick here. So what we're gonna do is make sure you press the love heart so you can find this room again easily, because you'll need it a couple times in order to do this technique, but I do think it's worth it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna favorite room, and I'm probably gonna save it to my library as well, just so it's easy to find. I'm going to save to my library, and then we're going to place the room. Now, like I said, you're going to need this room a few times. You can even hold shift and just multi-place these rooms. We'll probably need 5 of these, which sounds excessive, but I'll explain why. So I'm going to place this. We'll do 6 just to be sure. Don't worry, we're not keeping all these rooms. I'm going to find the one I want. So this one here, I would say is the one that I want. So I'm just going to place that there. We're going to grab the one next to it. I'm just going to quickly place them in. I'm not being too precise with it. We're going to do that one. Grab that one. We might get away with 4. No, probably 5. I'll grab all 6 just to be safe, because I hate having to try and find them on the gallery again, which is why I always save the rooms. But we have these tiles here now, and what we're going to do is I'm just going to line them all up super close to each other. So you can see that one actually overhangs ever so slightly. So you can adjust the scale of these, and also this one needs to be longer. So we can make the scale bigger, we can make it larger. So if we open up Tool for a second, I'm going to select each of these pieces, including the one that we're not using, just so it stays on par with the sizing. And what we're going to do, let's try like 0.9, just shrink it down just a little bit. There you go. So we have those all there. As you can see, this one is glitching slightly. We are going to fix that. We're going to go into Tool now, and I want to select all of these except that overlapping one. I'm going to select all of these, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring them into the wall. So we're going to use gravity pull. So that is when you press Alt and you pull back, just so it is flatter in the wall. There you see, those are quite in the wall now, and we're just going to bring this one back ever so slightly, but not as much, just so we don't get any weird glitch, and it needs to go just a tiny bit more. There you go. So now we have a custom backsplash in our kitchen, which is super handy. So that's how you can do custom backsplashes. I really like it. I like that it goes all the way down. You can see it behind the bin as well. If you had a cooker here, you could actually make it go all the way higher. So you could have this backsplash go all the way up to this shelf if you wanted to. Just grab some extra pieces and mess about with the scale until it works. Another great tip with kitchen is you can grab, for instance, maybe you want an oven to go on the end here. For some reason, maybe it can't go anywhere else and it has to go on the end. If we grab one, let's grab this one. Like, it looks cute, but I hate when an end is exposed. So how do you make it look like it matches the rest of the kitchen? Well, what I like to do is grab the chopping board. I don't think it's called a chopping board. What's it called? Okay, so if you have the cutting board in your game, a really good technique you can use with Tool, if you select a similar like wood tone, so like these match quite well, what we can do is we can go to put this on the side here, and we're just gonna scale it up. So if we do scale, obviously it needs to be quite a bit bigger, so I'll try 1.7. We'll elevate it just a little bit. There we go, and I'm just going to gravity pull that in. This needs to be a little bit bigger. It then almost looks like it's part of the built-in kitchen, which I really enjoy doing. I know not everyone has that pack, but if you have like horse ranch, you could probably do it with these as well, where you just add something onto the side of the oven just to make it look a little bit more built-in. And then this one's been really requested from people who have watched on Twitch. I like to make mug trees. If you have like the curtain rod, I like using this one from the Modern Luxe kit. You can see it's quite big though. So if you just get this to size down, so I'm going to place this first. We're going to open Tool again. We're going to select it and go into scale. This down. So let's go like 0.6 maybe. So that's like a cute size, 0.6. Let's bring it over to this side more, because at the moment it's, oh no, actually we could probably hang it under the coffee machine. This isn't normally how I set out my kitchens, but just to give you an idea of all the different techniques you could do, I guess. So let's just knock this down. We'll go 0.7. There we go. So here is our little curtain rod that we're going to use to hang mugs off. So you need to go find your mugs. I think they came from the clutter kit. Let me just grab them. Here we go. I think this is the everyday clutter. Okay, so now we're just going to grab our mug. Make sure it's not attached to a counter because you can't really move things with tool once they're snapped to a surface. So we've just moved it off this surface. I'm going to open up tool, select the item we want, and we're going to rotate. Now we can rotate forwards, backwards, rotate them on an angle. There's all different ways we can rotate here to get it to look like it is sat as if it's hanging from this curtain rod. So I think the first one we're going to do is I want it to be a little bit more straight. So as I always say, start with your bottom rotation first. So if we go 12, where does that take it? That takes it almost where we need. Let's add another 8 to that. Okay, so because we did the bottom one first, now when we click this, if you look, it's not turning the way we want it to turn. And the reason is because we've changed one of the angles. So if you ever see the line not quite where you need, what I want you to do is click rotate around center. Now all of a sudden it gives you a bigger circle, but it's rotating around the center of what's selected. So now if we go to click, let's try 70 because we don't want quite 90 degrees. So we're going to go 70. Okay, so now if you look at the angle here, that is exactly what we want. So now I want to work on getting this to the correct height so it's on that mug tree. So what I'm going to do is, we'll move it in place first. So I'm just going to use my gravity pull. Like I said, gravity pull is my preferred way of moving an object, but you might prefer one of the other ways. That's absolutely fine. So it needs to go quite a bit higher. So we'll go 0.7, which is so close to where it needed to be. So elevate again. We just want to go slowly now. Let's go 0.03. And that, my friends, is pretty close to where it needs to be. I'm just going to use gravity pull to move it further to the edge there. And I think we could probably just go a smidgen higher. So let's go 0.01. I just want a teeny tiny bit more height. That's exactly where I want it. Now we can duplicate this. So remember to duplicate, we're clicking Shift, Alt, click the item, and then click. And then we'll do 2 more. There we go. So now we have 3 of these. And now all I need to do is gravity pull these in to where they need to be. So I'm just going to pull this in. So it's near enough where it needs to be. Let's move this one. We will be a little bit more precise in a second. I'm just getting them close to where they need to be with our gravity tool. Let's do that. Move this one back towards the back. As you can see, we now have a cute little mug tree. So you have 4 mugs just hanging on this curtain rod. Obviously you can change the colors to whatever your aesthetic is, but this is a cute little way if you are coming up with a coffee station or something. I love doing this trick. It's one of my favorite little tricks. So I hope you like this one. Okay, and finally, this is the last little trick I want to teach you, just because I did it in a recent build and I love how it turned out. So some of the modular furniture can be a little bit difficult when it's snapped objects and things. So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean to make a really cool industrial coat rack. So first off, what we're going to do is go and grab the Dream Home Decorator hanging shelving. So this is what we're going to grab, and then we're going to attach some clothes to it. So let's go with these ones. So you can see they just snap in place, which is fantastic. Then what we're going to do is we're going to find some pipes. We have 2 just behind me, either from Strangerville or we have these ones from the Eco Lifestyle. I'm going to just grab one of these. So you can see they look pretty cool. I love the way these look. So I'm just going to put those down. And now we're going to use tool to make these work as a coat rack. It might sound a bit bonkers at the moment, but I promise if you stick with me, it will make sense. So let's open up tool, and I'm going to select these pipes to begin with. Now we want to rotate these, but I want it to go the other way. So I'm going to do -90, which it looks scary. I know it's half in the wall. It's okay. We're going to elevate it up. This time you can use 1. So there we go. We'll use 1. We'll do elevate again. Let's go up another 1. There we go. I'm going to use my gravity pull just to slide this further across. We have our pipes, and I actually do want these to be a little bit higher. So we'll go 0.3 just to give a little bit of extra height there. Now, unselect. We can now close tool for a second and grab this. I'm going to move it close to where I need it to be. We're going to open tool again. And just like we did when we place the appliances higher, we're going to select the shelf unit. We're going to select it and we're going to scale. Remember not to go too small with your scale to begin with. I always like to go to 0.5 as we do this. We're going to do that. I'm going to unselect. As you can see, it is nowhere near the wall. So we're going to select this with tool again, and I'm going to push it further into the wall till those items look like they're hanging on the pipe. So it's a little bit too far in. Let's bring this back out. And it needs to actually be a little bit taller. So what we're going to do is select this. We're going to elevate. We're going to go 0.03. And then we're just going to pull it a little bit further back into the wall. Just ever so slightly. Just so you can see those hangers are on there. Then with this still selected, we're going to scale this all the way down now. So go 0.01. It will go practically invisible, and you can select this item to come off it. I actually think this will look better if we rotate the pipes ever so slight. They have a slight downward slant here, if you can see. So what I'm going to do is just rotate these slightly. Because I want it to go the other way, I'm going to click minus. So we're going to do minus. Let's go 0.8 and see what that does. There you go. So you see how that just straightened out there, but now obviously it's a little bit too low. So let's just elevate it ever so slightly. There we go. So now I can select this. We can close tool, and now you have like a really cool industrial hanger. So if you're doing like more of an industrial vibe build, this works really well, really nicely against the brick as well. Like I said, we did this in a very recent build that is coming to YouTube very soon. But I love this technique. I think it looks fabulous. So these are just a few techniques that I love to do in Tool, but there are so many different ways you can do it. So many fun things. Like Tool really does open up all possibilities. But yeah, here's just a look at some of the little things that we went over. I hope they all make sense. I hope they do. But there we have it. Okay. Let me know if any of that needs more clarification in the comments. I know we went through a lot together just then. It's a lot of information when you first open up Tool and start looking at all the possibilities. But I really hope I did a good enough job of explaining the basics, the foundation things you need to know to be able to function and use Tool efficiently. But then also some of my favorite techniques there, which you're going to see in a lot of upcoming builds that I'm working on. Because now I'm obsessed and I can't stop using Tool. So let me know if you have any other questions. If you want anything else more explained, I would do my best to come back to you in the comments with a clear explanation. But I'm always also happy to do more tutorials and break it down even further, because it has been such a game-changing tool for me. How many times can I say tool? But there you have it, guys. My tutorial. I hope you loved it. This has been a fun little video to make. Let me know how you found it, and anything else I can help with, let me know down in the comments. But that's it for this week's video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to make more like this. But that's it from me, guys. Goodbye.